Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining us tonight. Tonight, we're going to talk about qualifying prospects for nutraMetrix. I am going to save some questions for the end. When I'm done, I'll stay on for a little bit so we can chat. But welcome. My name is Sarah Tegender. I'm a field development manager for nutraMetrix, and I am here to help you if you're interested in building with nutraMetrix or if you're currently building with nutraMetrix to implement more successfully and effectively. I have had a really long corporate sales career. So a lot of the knowledge that I bring to the table is not just from my own nutraMetrix business, but success that I found in the past from myself, and also for developing and managing not only a corporate sales team, but also a nutraMetrix sales team. And I found that I learned how to qualify really quickly because it saved me a lot of time. There were times, and I can say in both my corporate and my nutraMetrix career, that there were times that I walked into an account and it just didn't have the same look or feel or qualifications and characteristics of my ideal accounts. If you could find those common denominators and say, this is a profile of the best account that I would love to work with, sometimes you'd walk in and you'd make a couple compromises. Or you'd say, it's not quite the way I would want it to be. We'll see. Maybe it's good enough. Maybe I can make it work. And I would try to fit a square peg into a round hole. Maybe this was because of a challenge I was going for. I was trying to hit a sales quota. I was going for some sort of bonus. All of these in corporate America. Luckily, the nutraMetrix structure is nothing like my corporate career was. But there were some times where I would just try to make it work, and it was unsuccessful. And so what I found was that qualifying prospects saved me a ton of time. And time for me, I don't know about you, but now that I'm a mom to a little 2-year-old girl, Ella. I'm going to talk about her a little bit during this broadcast. But now that I'm a mom, I find even more than ever, my time is so precious. My time is so valuable. And the other thing that I found that really it's about quality over quantity. And so if I can find really great quality appointments, I would rather have a handful of those than a whole calendar booked full of appointments that weren't necessarily the best quality appointments. And I'm sure that you would agree. I'm sure you can think of a time you just had a great appointment because of the quality that it was. And you're like, oh, why can't all my appointments look just like that? Well, that's what I want to help you have. How does that sound? To save you guys time so you can find more time with your family, less windshield time, as I used to call it, driving around. And let's really zone in a bullseye approach as to exactly what you're looking for. I'm going to start by talking about if you were looking for some additional nutraMetrix consultants to help you in assisting with your practices and your growing nutraMetrix business. So what would I do first? Whether this is a warm lead, a cold call in some sense, or a referral of some sort, I always pretty much do the same thing. I find that consistency and habits are also what make me really successful. So I have a system for everything and how I go through, and that helps me a lot. So the first thing that I do is I always go to this person's Facebook account. So let's say that I'm thinking of someone, maybe this was a high school classmate of mine. Haven't seen them in almost a decade now. And I want to find out what is that person up to? I thought of them for whatever reason and said, hey, you know what? Maybe this would be a good person for me to talk to. Well, first things first, I'm always going to go to their Facebook and I'm going to figure out what's going on in their life. And I'm going to do this for a few different reasons, but one of them is just to make sure that the timing is appropriate for me to talk to them. If I see that I'm talking to my friend Heather from high school and I pop on her Facebook and it shows that Heather just had a new baby 2 days ago, this might not be the best time for me to reach out to her. I might wait a month or two since after having a baby myself. It doesn't mean I won't maybe like her picture and say, congrats, Heather, on the new addition to your beautiful family and make some sort of a connection. But right now, I'm going to make note of that and say, okay, maybe the timing could be better. I'm going to go through Facebook and I'm going to say, is there something going on? Have they been complaining about something? Complaining about work, complaining about vacation, complaining about time, complaining about money. Maybe there is something there that I could start the conversation from. Hey, Heather, I noticed that you said that your vacation was cut short this year. Why? What's going on? I'd love to hear what's happening with you. Maybe I can help. And just something just to get the dialogue started. Even with warm calls, it's a little scary, right? Picking up the phone or having that conversation. So you want something that's just going to open that door a crack to get that dialogue flowing. I might also try to find some really great common ground. Maybe I'm scrolling through and I say, see that they just got a new dog. They have a Maltipoo. I might message and say, hey, Heather, you have a Maltipoo. My mom has Maltipoos. I grew up with them. Can't they be a little erratic and possessive and crazy? And we might talk about our dogs, right? Everyone loves to talk about their dogs. Or something that we're going to have in common, again, just to open up that dialogue. Just so I know when I do make that call that there's something, if I can't think of anything, that we'll talk about right off the bat. Between me and you guys, I feel like, I don't know if this is the way that you feel, but I feel like if it's on Facebook, it's common knowledge. I'm going to talk about it. You put it out there to the world, especially if we're friends. Now, maybe if we're not friends, I don't want to feel like I'm creeping on your wall. But I got to say, if we're friends and I saw you just went to Hawaii, I'm going to say, how was your trip to Hawaii? I saw you just went there. I went there on my honeymoon. Isn't it the most amazing place on earth? I'm going to say something and acknowledge that they put it out there. So don't be afraid. You don't have to beat around the bush. Oh, have you been on any vacations lately? No, go straight into it, especially if you're friends. The next thing, and I don't think a lot of people utilize this, and they don't know, and I'd love your feedback, if it's because you just don't know how to effectively utilize it or you're forgetting. But especially if this is someone that I am connected with, maybe even if I'm not, I do like to pop on their LinkedIn profile. If you guys don't know what LinkedIn is, it's a social networking site predominantly for professionals. In a way, I think it started really to match companies who are looking to hire with people who are looking for jobs. So it's always been sort of a place to post a resume, to post referrals or back and forth, some testimonials perhaps. And so it is a good place to see where people have worked before. And then a lot of times they'll ask their coworkers to write them, I think it's called like a LinkedIn, like a referral, I guess. It's the best way. I forget the actual term, like a testimonial. That's not it either. And so for me to go on and to say, okay, I'm going to call Chris. Chris, he was a manager in his last position. And look at, he has one of his bosses and two of his subordinates. They all wrote some really great things about him. And I learned that Chris was really great at bringing a team together. I learned that Chris had some phenomenal leadership skills. There's even a place where you can highlight some of your attributes. And let's say that Chris says about himself that he's an extraordinary project manager. Well, if I'm going to call Chris on the phone, that's the language I'm more likely to use. I'm going to say, Chris, listen, I'm looking for some people who can lead a team. I'm looking for someone who's really great at project management. And I think that you're the guy, Chris. I want to talk to you a little bit about what I'm doing. I want to see if we can find some common ground to see if the timing might be right for you. But based on what I've been reading, it sounds like your qualifications are exactly the type of person that I'm looking for. The info is right there on LinkedIn, guys, for you to be able to use the same words that they're using to describe themselves. I always say, too, that be interested, not interesting. People always say, what am I going to say? Do you think that I should call and tell someone that we have the most effective nutrigenomic testing out there? Or should I talk to them because we now have TLS Select and it's just the greatest thing and such a new innovation with the company? Which one do you think I should talk about first, Sarah? I'm like, Nothing. I think you should talk about them. I think that people want to know, they don't want to know that you know things. They really want to know that you care. They want to know that it comes from the heart. And that's why I have no problem bringing up things that are on people's Facebook, bringing up the way that people describe themselves, because that just shows that I really and truly care about them. I really am connected. I'm seeing what makes them tick, what's going on, and I truly am interested. If I'm not interested, that's probably not a conversation I'm going to have. But I think that that has helped me open the doors and have a lot more conversations. If you're at a loss for what to say, there's always the form method. And the form method is great, whether I'm calling someone, a warm call, a friend of mine, or whether I'm calling someone that's a referral and I'm not really sure where to start the conversation, or even if this is a little bit more of a cold call or just a cold meeting. I'm at a networking event. I see your name is Susie and it's on your name tag. I walked up to you, Susie, and what do I say first? So form is great. It's a great starting point. It's a great jumping off point if you have no idea what to say. So the F, it's an acronym. The F stands for family. It's always easy. I would say since I've had Ella, hey, how are you? Do you have any kids? I have a 2-year-old. Let me see a picture of your kid. I was at a meeting the other day. It was a 2-hour meeting. An hour and a half, we talked about our kids. I think that you talk to any of us who have kids, or if you have kids yourself, you find the same thing. I'm always going places asking people about their family. So that's a really easy one. You get people to really light up, be happy. It's generally what makes people tick. That's what drives them day in and day out is their family. O is going to be occupation. This is what they do. This is maybe what they like to do, would like to do instead. You could ask them. Sometimes people will say, well, I'm this. And I'm like, well, you don't sound that excited about it. If you could do anything, what would you do? Kind of get them talking. Or ask them what they really do like about what they do, or maybe what they would like to change about what they do. Just keep asking questions, especially if you don't know a lot about that. Has anyone ever said something to you? I met someone the other day. He said he was a data scientist. I've never heard of a data scientist. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to ask him what a data scientist was. But I would have asked him that. Well, what's a data scientist? I've never heard of that. Are you a scientist, or do you have a math background, or is it a science background? Always just asking a lot of questions. R stands for recreation. So form, family, O, occupation, R, recreation. This is what they like to do. So are they, do they really like to cook? Are they into fitness? Are they into brewing their own beer? Are they maybe a marathon runner? They run a lot of road races. This is just a great way to get the dialogue going to figure out, oh, you're into that, I'm into that too. And you'll find some really cool hobbies and interests that people have. That's another one. You can get stuck on that for a while. But the big thing is you really have to move on to the M. This is the qualifier. This is money. Okay, I know. It's a little hard just off the bat to talk about money with someone. But a lot of times you can use the F, the family, the O, the occupation, or the R, the recreation, to kind of open up that door to bridge the conversation into some sort of a financial conversation. So for instance, they have kids, they are in high school. You could maybe talk about how they're going to put together a college fund for their kid. Oh, geez, you have kids that are already in high school. I mean, my 2-year-old, they've already set up a college fund for her, and I'm funding it every single month. How are you finding that you're doing that? Now you're right up against the wire with that. Do you have any advice for a mom who's eventually going to have a college-bound kid? And what if they don't have a college plan put together? What if they didn't have a great system? Or what if they say, how are you doing it? How are you putting money away every single month? That's a great way to talk about it. Occupation, maybe you can get them to say, well, I just don't make enough money at my current job. I'm looking for another job because of that. Looking to take a secondary or part-time job. Recreation, what if, let me just use this as an example. They're an avid runner. They run a lot of road races. I know I've run a couple road races. Those can get expensive, $30, $40 a pop. If you're a marathon runner, it takes a lot of time. You have to raise a lot of money. You need to buy shoes. You sometimes need massages. You need supplementation. There's a lot more that goes into it other than just running around the neighborhood. So to say, how are you funding that? That's an unbelievable hobby that you have, and that's a great way to talk about money. So I really like to use the FORM method: family, occupation, recreation, and money, when I'm talking to anyone, as an initial conversation. All right, let's take off that hat and let's put on the hat of saying that we're talking now to a health professional. Same thing. I use the same metrics. It doesn't really matter if it's a warm call, if it's a referral, if it's more of a cold call. Same thing across the bat. And the first thing when I do with qualifying is really going to be the research that I'm putting into it. So first is I think that it's important to get out that pre-call sheet, just as a guide that you can find in your practice planning guide that you can download. That has some really great starting points of things for you to think about. Always go to the health professional's website. You're going to glean so much information just from their website alone. First thing is you want to figure out how many locations does it look like this practice has. And one of the important things that I'm looking at when I'm thinking of locations is if this is a multi-location physical therapy practice, I might be asking more for the office manager as the decision maker or my initial gatekeeper I have to get past than more a doctor by name. Maybe there's or a physical therapist by name. There might be 10, 15 physical therapists in this 5 location practice. It might be easier to talk to an office manager or whoever handles the marketing. If I'm looking at an acupuncturist website and I can kind of tell that he rents a room that's in a larger wellness suite, well, a lot of times those sole practitioners with those small practices, they don't even usually have a secretary. They're answering the phone themselves. You're calling their cell phones directly or a Google Voice number, and that's how you're communicating with them. So in that case, I might know that I'm more likely to ask directly for the practitioner who's then going to turn to be the decision maker. I'll never forget, Mom, one of my first territories when I was a pharmaceutical rep, and I sat down with my manager and he was briefing me on the list of health professionals that then I was required to do account maintenance on. And he pointed to one of the accounts and he said, when you go to this account, you're going to talk to the secretaries, but then you're going to go around back because there is where sits the health professional's wife. And she is the one that makes all the decisions. You have got to detail her on your product and get past her. And she is the one that then will influence what the physician uses in his practice. It's like mind blown. Like that's crazy. I wouldn't think that I would have to talk to the wife who's acting as the office manager to affect prescribing behavior of my physician that I needed to work with. But I have seen it all. There's some crazy situations. And if you can figure out those kind of dynamics and figure out the way that the office flows, and anything you can figure out before you actually call or walk into the office is super helpful. The other thing is going to be, what is their specialty, or what does it look like that they're highlighting? I went to go see a dentist a couple weeks ago, and his big push, and it looks like a big part of his practice, is to help people specifically who have TMJ. And he does this with Botox. So he's doing things to add ancillary streams of income, ancillary sources of income already through this modality. And so that's something I discovered, and I might say, when I'm trying to figure out is who's handling that? Who's handling when you're bringing new things into the practice, like when you recently added Botox to your practice? Who can I talk to see what might be able to complement the practice in a similar way? I like to see if they have any sort of retail. So, looking at a chiropractor's website, are they carrying something metagenic, standard process? Are they carrying lumbar support pillows? Am I looking at a PT practice that's selling bands and ice packs and medicine balls? If I see that they have a retail system that's already in place, first of all, I already know that. So when there is the objection of, oh, I'm sorry, we already can't carry standard process, I'm like, I know that's great. A lot of my practitioners will sometimes pick and choose some of their favorites from different lines. And they do like our line because we have some exclusivity in the market that's really exciting, and that they will use to complement some of the gaps in the current retail offerings that they have. So I'm already not surprised. I already have a dialogue for when I hear that objection, and I know that there's something there. It also, I have to say, when I see that they already sell something, it gets me a little excited because I know that they already have a retail chain in effect. I already know that someone on staff knows how to swipe a credit card and give a product. They already know if they want to fill out a receipt. They already know how they handle taxes. There's a little bit less for me to do as the nutraMetrix consultant when implementation comes into place. So that for me makes things a little bit easier. So I wouldn't get afraid if you see that they are selling anything else. I think it's a really great compliment, and it makes it a little bit easier occasionally for me. I'm not saying that there's advantages and disadvantages to every type of account, every situation you're going to encounter. So don't let that discourage you. I like to see too if they're doing any additional marketing. Do they have a presence on Facebook? Are they on Twitter? Are they on LinkedIn? What else is going on? Have they run a Groupon or a Living Social recently? So other than their website, I might also then just do a quick Google search just to see what I can find. Depending on the practitioner, I might read a couple Yelp reviews, something like that. So, all right. I want to end with, all right, just here looking, seeing that some people can see me, some people can't. So I hope that this recording comes out great. If you're here watching the replay, if you're watching us live, I will take some questions at the end. I don't think I have a volume box. No, I don't. Sorry, guys. Okay, so let me just wrap up here. When you're booking appointments with health professionals, there's 6 points that I really want you guys to be able to make. So the first one is figure out who is the decision maker. I think this is the best way to book a quality appointment, is obviously to get right to the decision maker, or at least to know the steps that you need to go through to find your way to the decision maker. So I went back and I told you the story about the health professional and that it actually was his wife. I got a shortcut. I got some insight from my manager, but to be able to figure out that as quickly as possible, I think is really helpful. My second point, what is their budget, or what's going on with the health professional's practice? And does it look like this is going to be a fit and the timing's going to work right now? Again, I know money can sometimes be a little bit of a tough subject to talk about. So if you can find some way to bring this up in conversation, I think it's really important and can be really huge to figure out, is this a fit now? Is this going to work with the initiatives of the practice and what they have projected in the next 3 to 12 months? So in those initial dialogues, I think that's really important to figure out if this is a quality prospect, quality appointment, quality practice for you. The third is to generate some interest. So you really need to do your best to pique their interest. And my recommendation is to use as many buzzwords as they're using. So remember I told you, when I'm talking to potential nutraMetrix consultants, I'm using buzzwords from their LinkedIn profile. When I'm talking to health professionals, I'm doing the same thing. I'm just using buzzwords that they're using to describe their practice. So if they're saying that they are a full service medical facility, I might say, we work with full service practices to add some additional products and services to their patient base. If they're saying that they have a comprehensive total body approach, I'm going to say the company that I've partnered with has some great marketing that provides a comprehensive total body approach to complement the services that you're providing your clients. I'm just using the same language to market just right back to them. The other thing is timing. To try to find out when someone else's timing is going to be consistent with yours. To find the accounts that are ready right now. I know that sounds easier than it really is, but you can kind of gauge. And then you know when to put or take your foot off the gas pedal with these accounts in your communication. So, I have to say, a couple of years ago, it seemed like everyone was changing over to the electronic medical record, everyone I talked to. And this was expensive, it was time consuming, and took up a lot of the staff and practitioners' time. It wasn't really conducive for me booking additional meetings. Just a few months ago, when we had some changes with ICD-10, some of the codes that practitioners were using, some of the bigger practices were actually more well equipped. And I was finding some of the smaller sole practitioners who did a lot of the billing in house or themselves were struggling or a little more apprehensive about the change. So, I just said, okay, like those I just put on a follow up list for a little bit later. Just one of those things. So, to figure out the timing and when it's appropriate to follow back. But I do follow back up and I'll say, okay, great. Now that EMR has been implemented or the electronic medical record has been implemented for a few months now, let's sit down and talk. So I'll write that down in my notebook that that's what we were waiting for. Give the practitioner that qualifier back to them that that's what was going to trigger the appointment. And that'll usually help secure the appointment when I do have that follow up. Number 5 is clarity. You need to be really clear about your intentions with the meeting. I think it's tough when we book these foggy appointments. So if a friend of yours is a health professional and you say, let's grab coffee, I would love to just catch up and see you again. But really what you want to do is do a secret discovery meeting. It's just not fair. That's not fair to the person that you're sitting down meeting with. I like to be absolutely clear and transparent about my mission, about why I'm sitting down and booking this appointment. Otherwise, I'm going to be interested, not interesting. And I'm just going to sit and hear about them and see if there's some way for me to book another appointment where I'm really clear about the intentions. I think that this is important enough to take the time, even if it's taking the time aside, to book these really quality appointments. And that's going to save you time, which is going to allow you for more time with your family, more time for your recreation, your hobbies, and that in the long run is going to make you a lot happier than spinning your wheels trying to book appointments where you're not clear about your intentions. And so I like to sit down and see if the timing is going to work right now. I'm the oldest of 6 kids. Okay, just take a second, let you digest that. It's a little crazy, I know. And I have 3 little brothers, one who is actually still in high school, one who is wrapping up right now his post high school years and deciding what to do next after college, and one who's already out of college. All 3 of them played sports in some capacity, all of them in high school, and we'll see how many of the 3 play in college. But my older brother, he played baseball in college. And when he was in high school deciding what school he was going to go play baseball with, there was one coach in particular that just really spoke to him, spoke directly to him, and said to him, Nate, we really love your leadership qualities. We really love the enthusiasm that you bring. We love the discipline that you have for the sport. We see what you're doing, and we think that you'd be a really great asset because that's what our culture, that's what our community is like here at our school and here on our team. And it was just the way that coach made him feel that he felt like that was going to be the best fit for him. The other coaches, everything, all the communication he was receiving was really generic. It didn't really speak to my brother. And the whole family, we all knew that was the school he was going to. Like that was the one that just made him light up. He was really excited every time that coach would communicate with him and every interaction he had. And I think that it was because they made it really clear. Nate, we want you to play on our team, and this is why. Health professionals aren't really any different, guys. They're being pulled in a million directions. Everyone wants them to do them a favor. Everyone wants them to speak for their company. Everyone wants them to sell or rep their product. Everyone wants them to work on this new initiative or send referrals their way. And I know because my dad's a health professional. And I just know how many people are trying to solicit me for my dad's time. I can't imagine then how many people are coming into the office, how many patients are telling him about things. How many times reps walk into the office or call his office staff? And I mean, it's everything. It's from, does he want to save money on his electricity bill? Does he want a different billing system? Could he use a new piece of equipment? Does he want to carry this? Does he want to sell that? It can get overwhelming. But the reason why I chose nutraMetrix was because someone found out what made my dad tick, what was really important to him, and said, we want guys like you. We want guys like you that are working with us. If this is what your mission is, this is what our mission is. If we can have these align, I think we can do something really big. And the person who booked those initial appointments with him was really clear about the purpose. It wasn't someone that went in as a patient during their office visit that said, doc, like, I'll just leave some cards, and maybe if you could think of someone that this might be a fit for, Nope. Someone else, they booked a specific business appointment with them. And that's what made it really clear. And number 6, the last one. So just to wrap up, I have, who is the decision maker? What's their budget? Do they have any interest, or how can you spark their interest? Figure out the timing. Is this timing right? Number 5 is clarity, and this one's for you to make sure you're crystal clear about where this appointment is going. And number 6 is confirmation. Make sure you're booking a clear, confirmed appointment. This is how I qualify prospects and have quality appointments. It's because I have clear confirmation. Who's going to be there? Are we meeting with the decision maker? Am I not? And then I'll kind of decide if this is worth going through. Should I just keep climbing the ladder at this particular office and figuring it out? Should I wait until I get right to the decision maker? I like to know who's going to be there. I like to see if we can get as many or all of the decision makers to the table as possible. I always say to people, I have a 2-year-old. I love to spend time with my Ella. She's a lot of fun. I think it's really important that we actually sit down and meet, but I don't like to cancel on you because I define babysitting, and I think this is really important, and I'm sure that you would do the same, and that you wouldn't cancel on me. And I think I learned this from Steve Harris. He really books quality, qualified, confirmed appointments. He tells people, I'm not going to cancel on you, and I just would hope that you would have the same respect with my appointment. And he says that he holds the majority of his appointments that way. There's a lot of great things that you can get from many of the trainings. What I'd love for you guys to do is to jump over on Facebook and let's continue this discussion. Let's continue to discuss how we're booking qualified appointments with quality prospects, both as nutraMetrix consultants and with additional accounts that would be a great fit for our nutraMetrix products and systems. And this is Sarah Tegender, the National Field Manager with nutraMetrix, and I'm hoping that I make this your best year where you're more productive and more efficient with nutraMetrix. I'm going to stay on for a little bit in case you guys have any questions. Let's see. Oh no. I still see that I'm live. Are you guys still there? She was doing really well. Thank you. Oh, great, Linda. No problems. Thank you. Oh, good. I worry that I'm just talking to myself sometimes. So it looks like we're in the text chat that there's no questions. But if anyone does have any questions, I am here to answer anything. I'll stay on for like another 5 minutes. I probably won't include this in the recording. It's like a funny platform to be on. It seems like there's a little bit of a delay. Should have called you guys out. Appreciate all the people that I see. Oh, black screen here. Guess I'll try out. Oh, all right. Maureen asks, are you that direct in asking about timing? Probably not. It depends. It depends on the exact account, but I will just say, I'll say something more like, what do you have on the schedule? What are any projects or anything that you have upcoming that might delay the implementation of this? And I might not ask that when I'm booking the appointment, but then when I'm really trying to qualify in that, maybe the discovery meeting or initial meeting. So I will be pretty direct just to say, what else do you guys have going on? I hope that answers your question, Maureen. I think we've been working together for a while. I think you can tell I am pretty direct with my accounts. I don't have a lot of time anymore. Oh, thank you. Yes, she said that answered her question. I've had more success since I've been more direct with people. And I'm just very honest with them about what's going on in my life. And I think that that transparency allows a lot of people to be really honest with me as well. That's it. Maybe it's black for everyone else. Thank you, Marie. So this is more interactive. I could hear you, or you'd be in like a little picture box on my side. But I guess everyone else likes to be in their pajamas, like drinking tea, right? Anyone else? I like everyone's name. There's Bill and Jane and Janet, Nan. I don't know who Sunflowers is. I was on number 5 of the things. Oh, so for clarity, Jane? So you didn't hear about confirmation. So number 6 is confirmation, making sure that they are going to hold the appointment, figuring out who is going to be there for decision makers, if all the decision makers are going to be there. So it's who is the decision maker. They can figure out their budget, pique their interest with some buzzwords. Timing is number 4. Clarity, and this is for you, how clear you are about the appointment. And number 6 is confirmation of who's going to be there, if it's going to be the decision makers, and that they're going to be serious about keeping that appointment. So neither one of you will cancel on the other one, that they know that it's a mutual respect for time. It's like a big one. I wish that they were all the same letter, like the 6 C's, but I couldn't quite do that. I hope that's helpful. Oh, thanks, Kathy. All right. I'll wait if there's any other questions. I'll give you guys another minute before we end this. This is kind of a long one. We'll see you tomorrow then. I got a flashing question. Oh, there are a certain category of health professionals that I love to approach more than others. No, there really isn't. But I find when I get on a spree, they'll tend to then think of other ones that are in the same specialty. So I've recently been working with 2 dentists. So I'm a little bit more equipped with the way that dentists operate and they flow. And so I have a couple more dentists that now I'm personally going to approach, because I can use my other dentist appointments as third party credibility, as stories for me to say, right now I'm working with another dentist and we're working on a protocol for periodontal disease. He's finding a lot of success. And so I just would love to come in and show you a case study and see if maybe your practice would have a similar profile and would benefit from what I'm doing. Same thing, if I'm finding that I'm having success working with a particular chiropractor, maybe then I'll think of another chiropractor I'm working with. But I've had success with a lot of different types of HPs, and so that's just been the way that it's worked for me. So that might be a good way, but it also works really well when you have success with one to get referrals around their referral base. So if you're having a lot of success with a internal medicine physician, is she referring to a specific physical therapist? Is she referring to a chiropractor? Is she referring to an OBGYN? Can you work within her referral base? I've done that as well. Hope that answers your question, Lester. Oh, absolutely, Maureen. We can totally talk about that. I am available from 9 to 10 if you want to call me then in the morning. Thank you. I love interacting with all of you guys on Facebook, and it's really great too when we can take our conversations offline on the phone. If there's anything really specific, you can't reach me directly because sometimes some of the messages do get lost in the direct messages. Just fill out one of our corporate call request forms. I'd be more than happy to reach out to you and talk to you specifically about your business and ways I might be able to help. And that's what I want to do because I want to make this the best year for you guys ever. So that being said, I'm going to go and make sure my little girl is asleep. I hope she is. It's 9:41. And if her dad's on this call, I'm sure he's singing some lullabies and tucking her in right now. So I'm going to give her one last kiss. And I will see all of you guys on Facebook. And I think we have some great meetups coming up this week. So make sure to continue on meet-ons coming up this week. So keep looking at the schedule for those. Thanks for joining me. Talk to you soon.